It's another Music Gear Monday. We're back at Pirate Studios. Really cool space. More in the description below. But anyway, today, since we're in a studio and I just finished organizing my studio back home, I want to talk about 5 essential tips to help keep your studio organized. I'm really big on organizing spaces. Some of my friends know me because I like to come in and move shit around and help them organize it and make it a little bit more productive space. So here are a couple of things to help you get your studio organized. Tip 1 is creating zones or creating spaces in your studio dedicated for specific things. So before I moved my studio around, I drew out how I was going to lay out my studio. I don't know if you could see this, but I have my console here, I have isolation booth here, DJ desk over here, storage over here. So I broke it down into zones before I moved everything around. That way I know exactly where I'm going to place things, and depending on what you're doing and how big your space is, it could be something like this. One zone could be your recording console, or your desk, your speakers, your MIDI controllers. That's where everything like that will live as far as production goes, maybe mixing, things like that. Maybe you're a DJ, producer, and you have a DJ setup. So maybe one zone is set up for your DJ equipment. One zone is set up for your mixing and your production. Then you have another zone that is set up for cases and just storage, which we'll get more into that here in a sec. And then you have maybe a zone that is set up for lounge. Maybe you're a writer and you need a place to kind of sit with your notebook and just write. So maybe you set up a zone for that. You could set up a zone if you're a guitar player for your amps, maybe your bass amp, your guitar amp, and your guitars, somewhere for those to live as well. So just think about your space, break it down on a piece of paper where things are going to live. So that's tip number 1, is breaking your room up into zones. All right, tip number 2, essentials, storage. Having a well-organized space for storage is kind of key in keeping your creative space, your music studio, whatever, organized. So on this little diagram here that I drew up before I moved my studio around, I created a space just for storage. And in that storage space, I bought a shelf, kind of an industrial shelf. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check out that. And on that shelf, I put all of the gear, not in use all the time, but that I pull off and on. So, and even like for gigs or for whatever, it's a racked storage shelf where I can store my speakers, I can store MIDI controllers that aren't in use at the time, guitars that aren't in use. That's where all of my cases live. And a lot of stuff that's just, if it's not in use, it goes there. I have cases for cables, I have cases for microphones, and it all goes into this storage space. And you can get creative with it as much as you want. You can use a rack shelf, you can use storage boxes. I recommend you use something that you can pull off and on fairly easily, because if it's something that you have a lot of trouble taking in and out, it's gonna kind of stifle you from actually using those instruments or using those tools. So make it easy for you to access those things. The other thing is cases. Get a case for every piece of gear that you buy. I promise you it goes a long way. Makes it super easy to track down that piece of gear, to have it organized, and to have it in a place where it's just easily accessible. And if you're traveling or going anywhere, you could just grab that piece of gear. It's already in a case and ready to go. So cases are a hack when it comes to your storage space. There is a bunch of stuff at IKEA that you can actually get to help organize cables. This little wall grid thing that I get, this thing is great for hanging up cables on the wall. I throw a bunch of XLRs on this, USB cables, quick access cables that you need to grab off and on. Just one of these boards can hold a good chunk of cables and adapters. So definitely check those out when you're putting your storage area together. This could be storage for cases, gear, and cables. So keep that in mind. Number 3 is a super easy one for me, Velcro ties. So these Velcro ties are lifesavers when it comes to being in the studio. Super simple. They're just pieces of Velcro. You can get them pretty much anywhere. I would recommend getting them on Amazon or going to like a local computer store, somewhere like Micro Center or something, because they're fairly cheap and you could buy a ton of them. And they come in handy for cables. And every studio, creative space, whatever, has a shit ton of cables. And on those, if you don't have some sort of Velcro to keep them together, then they fly all over the place. And I recommend getting Velcro for all of your cables to kind of manage them and keep them organized. Because I know that's a simple one, but that's probably one of the biggest things that I have in my studios is just having a shit ton of Velcro everywhere to wrap cables up with. For anybody that's been through any kind of music production course or anything like that, they spend time showing you how to wrap cables. And there's a reason for that, because it goes a long way with those cables and making those cables last. So Velcro, that's number 3 or 4? I don't know, but that's up there. Essentials number 4 is cleaning supplies. I know this is kind of something that people really don't think about in recording studios, because recording studios that people post online always look immaculate or always look like really full of gear and fun, but having a duster, having a broom, having a dustpan, having a vacuum is kind of key to keeping those spaces clean. And having a space for cleaning supplies kind of goes a long way as well. So make sure you set up, whether it's just storage container, small in the corner with some cleaning supplies in it, maybe your vacuum there, something like that. Or maybe you want to get some sort of cabinetry. I would get in a routine, depending on how dirty or clean it is in your studio. Make it a routine. Keep your space clean, keep your space organized. It helps your brain function a little bit more, which leads into our next tip. Tip number 5 is making your space vibe, making your space a place where you can create a space that inspires you. Don't skimp on inspiration, like posters, photos, having cool lighting, having some plants, some flowers. A lot of this aesthetic, a lot of this feel sounds very, weird, that you would have to go out of your way to create a mood, but that mood goes a very long way, especially if you're hosting artists, bringing people into your space. You want them to feel welcome. You want them to feel inspired. Having some sort of aesthetic theme or vibe, just something that is unique and different. Create the environment that you want to be in. There you have it, folks. 5 essential tips for keeping your studio organized. Hopefully these tips help you transform your space into something inspirational. I'm Carl Carell. We'll catch you guys back here next week. Peace. Shout out to our sponsors today, Crate Connect Digital Record Pool, providing tons of new music, new releases, hundreds of different genres and chart-topping hits, everything and anything, instrumentals, acapellas, Latin, moombahton, techno, dance hall, even country music. So if you're a DJ and you want to spruce up your music library, this is a great tool to utilize. The price is just right, with different options from 30 days, 90 days, and 180 days with high resolution audio. This is a great option for anybody wanting to expand their DJ library. They even have a clothing shop. This one's my favorite. Make sure to hop on over, check out Crate Connect. I will be putting a link in the description below, which will include a discounted price. So make sure to hop on that while it lasts.